So this is how I start the painting, carefully measuring and then drawing freehand in that method I showed you just recently. So this is already quite cleaned up. I use a dampened Q-tip to clean up my areas. And then I start to wash in an idea of the values, just to get my placement for everything. This painting took quite a while to get to the wash-in stage completion. This is where I've pretty much finished. The values aren't what they're going to be, but they are balanced in the same way that they are going to be in the finished painting. So then I start working on the head of the dog. I usually kind of go with the center of interest first, and I wanted to get his head going right at the very start. And once I got that done, I started working on the legs and the body. And I worked the dark of the couch around it so that I can get my edges figured out before the paint dries on the dog itself. So now I've got the couch almost completed at the bottom, and I'll just finish that, and then I'll show you my little dilemma that I ended up with in the background and how I worked that out. My original reference photos so you can see what I was working with. I used Photoshop to correct some of the perspective and changed a few things, but it still posed a little bit of a dilemma. So this original reference photo was really distorted, and I corrected distortion quite a bit, but didn't really notice until now that the top line of the couch is going to form a really strong line against the lighter background, and it's still quite angled compared to where I think it should be. I wouldn't mind if it angled up a little bit, but it's angled quite a bit up, and I think it'll be too strong. So I'm going to try to put the couch in a dark way first, and it's very easy to angle the top line up a little higher if I feel I need to. So let's move in a little bit closer and I'll show you how and why I'm doing that. So the easiest way is to first do a complete horizontal and then decide if I want it to be a little bit slanted. So by going up like this, right here it's 3.5 inches, here it's just about 3 inches. So I can either measure it, or I could use the ruler to draw a line. In this case, because my ruler is getting hit by my easel, I'll just measure it. And now I'll use a shorter ruler to draw the line in. So that's where it would be if it was more horizontal. I've got my colors here from yesterday, but I just might stop and mix the colors up again because it's always nicer working with fresh paint. And at some point here I'm going to move my camera because I'm having difficulty even getting around it as it is. That is the problem. In order to give you a close view, I have to do yoga around the camera. So because I've changed the line here, I've got a lot of different couch shapes to work with than I originally had in terms of the folds. So I'll move my camera and just get a little more done and bring you back here. So still working with a larger brush and some of my colors from yesterday. Just going with main shapes first. It's easy to soften them later. So now that I've got this roughed in with just the basic colors and values, I've decided that I do like some of the couch to come up here, partly to mimic this curve here, and it seems to kind of cradle the dog. So I will bring it up a little bit, not quite as high as it is there, and just kind of move it across. And I will also put a little bit darker background back here to make that line not as harsh. Here's the finished painting. I took a picture of it hanging on the wall so that you could see the whole thing. As you can see, I did create a darker background behind the couch on the left-hand side, and I kept it quite light on the right-hand side. Part of that is because with the dog with his really light head, I wanted him to really stand out, and I wanted some of the focus to go to his head. And since most of the color is in the other parts of his body, it was easy for the head to get lost. But by having the ears against a rather light background, your eye is naturally going to go up into that area to some extent. So this painting measures 20 by 24, and I did it on a gallery wrap canvas.